works out. Check your contractors, as Jeff said. Make sure you know them, you like them, and they should come with some sort of a recommendation or whatever. Contracting. Now, repairs are common today because nobody's buying houses. It's very hard to get a new house because nobody's building them, or very few.
Right.
And older houses are going for a song in Chautauqua County. I want to warn people, if you're going to sell your house now, you're not going to get what you thought it was worth, but anybody outside the area, you can come in here and join in our paradise. And incidentally, the French were the first here, and they in their journals, they said this is a paradise when they went through. And they dropped a ton of gold up in the hills somewhere. It's still there in Westfield. Yeah.
I should try to find it.
Everybody does. Okay, Jeff Flanders here telling us a little bit about contracting. You may call in any time and ask him your questions. If you have a problem with your house, he will tell you immediately what to do about it and what it's going to cost you. And if you believe that, I've got a bridge.
Yeah.
Somebody said something in the background. What was that? Okay, fine. So let's think about contracting. Think about the houses. Think about working on your house. And we'll take a little bit of just peace and quiet, okay? And then it'll be all your time to talk, okay? Here we go. This is for you. This is a little private time. Give yourself a little meditation every single day, friends. Your pulse rate drops, your blood pressure drops 10 points. You'll live much longer. Give yourself, even if it's 15 minutes, 10 minutes, try to take an hour. Remember, you're number one in the whole wide universe. This is for you. I hear those beautiful booming basses. Remember Pink Floyd? They were known for that. I love it. I love it. A little bit of the beauty up here and the quality of life that we enjoy in Chautauqua County. Seniors particularly. Jeff Flanders telling us a little bit about what to do if you need some work done. Now, what do? You don't, as I said, the unemployed people don't do much of anything. They're suddenly contractors. How do you pick a contractor? You said a friend, somebody you might know, whatever. Say you don't know anybody. You just moved into town, you want to do some work on that new house, that old house that you just purchased for $15,000.
Right. Well, if you knew, I mean, the best way, I think, is if you do happen to know somebody that's that's had work done, somebody that you trust. If they know somebody that worked for them and you get a referral from them, that's usually a good way to find somebody. But if you don't know somebody, you can go to the Yellow Pages, but you might be more inclined to, I'd go to the local lumber yard myself and get one of the counter guys, explain what you're going to do, and maybe have him refer 3 or 4 different builders that he trusts, because, you know, they know the guys that are good and they know the guys that get into trouble. So, you know, that's a way of doing that. When you do talk to them, you really want to kind of interview it. We're always amazed at how people, you know, if they're going to buy a new car, they go to Consumer Reports and they read about every model there is, and they do their homework and they study and they go test drive, and, you know, they make an educated decision. It's amazing to me sometimes that we'll get people that are going to build a $300,000 house and they don't seem to do that same sort of research. They don't seem to ask those questions. So I would suggest you ask a few questions of the contractor, you try to get references from him, and then you actually follow up and make some phone calls to the references and ask what the project was like. And, you know, things that you want to hear is that they were relatively on time. Sometimes, you know, jobs don't run smoothly or they don't always come in on time. You want to see that they were relatively on budget. And again, things don't always come in exactly where they should be, but you know, I had a client that had done a job at his house in Pennsylvania. They came in 160% over the estimate. You want to be, 5–10% at the outside away from the estimate. So you want to ask those other clients, were they good about sticking to their cost?
And their schedule.
Their schedule. And the other thing is,
sometimes a year late.
Right. It's the type of job drives a lot too.
Uh-huh.
I mean, if you're going to have a siding job done, then you're going to find a more specialized guy probably. Roofing. And I don't want to completely denigrate pickup truck carpenters because I started out as one. So, but if you're going to use somebody that hasn't been in business or is starting out, you want to know that they have some experience. So even if you're going to find a guy who's out there with just a single shingle, he's his own guy, you want to talk to somebody that's had work done by him before, because you can get yourself in some trouble. And
okay.
So one thing you want to avoid is you don't ever want somebody to knock on your door and tell you that you need something done that they noticed while they were driving by. I've seen a couple instances where that happened. That'll never work out well. So, you want to avoid that. You want to avoid anybody who comes to your house in a different vein that didn't just show up, but somebody who tries to fast track you, get you to sign something quickly, and doesn't give you time to think about what it is you want to do.
You do have a time frame to rethink your contract, don't you?
I think you have a 3-day right of refusal.
Yep. Right of refusal, meaning you can say, hey, the heck with it. Often they'll say they're working for your neighbor, and sometimes they are. And they just notice that you need this and so forth. And now you got the reference in there, right? Which
right.
may not be a good reference.
Well, yeah, you might want to wait until they finish it.
Yeah, right.
For a little while before you decide to do that, because that could be the case.
Do you have an association? Can you call up most groups have an association or something and say, hey, I want to know about John Anderson contracting. Are there any good or what?
Well, I mean, in Jamestown, there's the Southern Tier Builders Association, but it's more geared towards commercial builders. So there's not like a home builders association or a remodeling association in Chautauqua County like there is in larger metropolitan areas. Uh-huh. But, I mean, you can always call the Chamber of Commerce and the Better Business Bureau to see if anybody's had some negative reports about the people that you're looking into.
Better Business Bureau or your Chamber of Commerce.
Right.
I bet the bank, too. The bank would know, would they?
Well, I never tell anybody to ask that question, and I don't know how much information a bank can give out, but that probably is a pretty good source if you can find out if the guy's in good standing in his bank. If he's not, there's probably going to be trouble there.
Well, the bank's making a lot of mortgages too, and they would know people who are building and working on it. They might have some background,
right?
And not just financial, but and what kind of work they do.
Another red light for you is if somebody asks for too much of a down payment.
What's a given amount of down payment you make?
I actually think that there's a statute that lists what it can be, and I don't know that right off the top of my head. But in our case, we'll do 5–10%. If we're doing, like, a lot of our projects in the institution run over 500,000.
Wow!
We get a retainer.
Like a lawyer or a doctor.
Well, I mean, because what we are is a design build company. Uh-huh. We actually do the design work with the client, and then actually build the project out, as opposed to an architect and a separate builder. So
you're your own architect, in other words.
Right.
You're the architect, huh?
Well, Emmett, the owner, is an architect, and I'm a pseudo architect.
He dubbed you an architect.
But I've been at it a long time.
Yeah, you've been at it longer than a lot of architects. I might not know. Speaking of the Lakeview, did you realize that one of the co-owners there is an architect?
No, I did not know that. Yeah.
And the other guy's a college professor. They don't know anything about restaurants, but they've got the most incredible restaurant in the county.
Well, they're doing pretty good then.
Well, hell yes, yeah. They're doing terrific. Hello, Dave. Now we got a live, honest contractor here with us, and he's not talking about building $500,000 houses. He's talking about putting on an addition to your kitchen, maybe, or a little bedroom, or maybe putting a new roof on, or some minor work that's got to be done around the house, right? And this time you got to go to somebody who can do it, right?
Right, and a lot of things that people are doing now is, obviously there's a trend towards green building, and there's a trend towards energy efficiency. So a lot of people, in their existing homes, and as you said, the housing stock in Chautauqua County is relatively old. So there's always ways to improve that, and you have to weigh the cost versus the payback sometimes, but so there's a lot of insulation retrofitting going on. There's a lot of windows. I mean, the biggest draw from a house's energy envelope is leaks. So if your doors are old and they're not weather stripped right, or your windows are old and they don't have weather stripping or storm windows, those are the two places you want to start. But then there's also ceiling gaps up around the basement walls, and so a lot of that sort of stuff takes place. And you'll find again a lot of specialty contractors that are doing just windows, or the insulation contractors. And technology in insulation has changed a lot. I mean, it used to be we knew that you just had fiberglass bats, and in retrofitting houses, they blow in insulation. Well, now that insulation used to be just loose packed cellulose. Now you have a choice of low expanding foam or high density foam. Those two products are 3 times the money that the other blown-in insulation is, but they also air seal so that you're getting less leakage out of the house. So, I mean, in some respects, it's a good choice. It's just that it's expensive to start off with. And there's dense packed cellulose now, and there's blown-in fiberglass. So you have some different choices there. If you can get on the internet, always a great place to do some homework and find out about different things. A lot of websites on there that you can research the different products with.
How about solar heating? There are two kinds. One's passive, where you just have a lot of glass on the southern exposure,
right?
And the other one is the little cells. You put these big plates up. Have you ever done any of those? What do you think of them?
We just had a client recently that was asking about those, and I didn't do the research specifically myself, but we had a company come down from Buffalo, and boy, they give the nice little 6 or 7 page printout of all the technicalities and the amount of sun that we get. And one thing about solar energy is you don't necessarily have to have a completely sunny day for it to work. But it's a pretty high cost, the initial cost, and a long-term payback. So,
well, of course, the Fed and the state are giving you financial incentives. You can deduct it from your taxes.
I think it's maybe 25–35% of the cost that you can get back in a tax.
And incentives there.
Right.
And the solar panels are getting better and better and better. They tell me. Used to be they fogged up and they didn't work, and they're airtight now. They work. And also, one of the advantages to the panels, they tell me, is that you have an excess of electricity. Believe it or not, in many houses, you got more than you need. You sell it to the electric company.
Well, that's always good to be.
You make a buck on the side there.
Send it back.
Well, solar panels coming. I think they beat windmills. I think the windmills are ugly. They're ugly.
I've seen some good-looking ones, actually.
I mean, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Others,
they're making some for residential that are
on top of roofs. Yes, I don't.
You mean the big?
Those big things that'll grind and flap and bat birds down, and you got this gorgeous landscape. Suddenly, you got these great big things blowing around, and it's madness.
That energy is clean, but there's a lot of things that go into putting those up, so you have to look at the total package. And I myself, just from an aaesthetic standpoint, I'd hate to see them.
I would. They're ugly.
In the beautiful Chautauqua County.
They're putting them out on the ocean now. They say, well, that's not being used. You imagine a gorgeous seascape with all these big things flapping in them. I mean, it's horrible.
Well, actually,
in the desert too.
The ones they're talking about off the coast of the eastern seaboard there, they'll be far enough away that with the naked eye they'll be 50 miles out or something.
If they're out of sight, I don't mind them. Incidentally, the smaller ones that go on your rooftop, they're fine with me. They don't bug my mind. But the desert, the gorgeous, gorgeous desert, big things flopping around in them now. It just breaks my heart. Sorry, Perkins, H. Boone Perkins. He's going in for them in a big time way. He's a big gas.
I saw him the other day on the Today Show.
Yeah, he's trying to sell windmills all over the country. I can't believe it. I hope they don't ever put them in up here.
Well, actually, if people would really take advantage of tightening their houses up, energy efficiency. If everybody retrofitted their house and just made it reasonable, it cut down a lot of the energy that we use, 10–15%, and it'd almost make up for as much as wind power supplies us now. Not that I think we should have as many clean technologies as we can, but
cars too.
Be careful. Cars.
They still have cars that get a couple hundred miles to a gallon. If they just made long distance cars, efficient cars, And as you said, making your house efficient, using incandescent lights instead of, using
Fluorescent lights or even the LEDs.
tightening up so you
Right.
don't spend twice as much on fuel.